We need to get into this interview now, and it's all about step aside. Now, the ANC in the Eastern Cape says its provincial chairperson, who is also the province's premier, Oscar Mabuyane, as well as the treasurer, Babalo Madikizela, must be given space as they seek legal review regarding Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane's findings. The report found that both parties improperly benefited from 3.3 million rand, which had been allocated for a memorial service for struggle stalwart Winnie Madikizela-Mandela back in 2018. The ANC in the province says while it upholds the resolutions taken by the party's motherbody to fight corruption, it also welcomes the decision by both Mabuyane and Madikizela to challenge the report through a judicial review in court. Now, in 2019, they were both cleared of any misconduct by the Provincial Integrity Commission. Legal analyst Advocate Modidima Mannya says the ANC step-aside resolution has much broader societal as well as legal implications. And he joins us now. Great to have you on the program. Thanks so much for being with us, Advocate.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers.
So straight into this question. Now, the Eastern Cape PEC says the Provincial Integrity Commission in 2019 cleared both Mabuyane and Madikizela and found them not guilty of any misconduct. Aren't there fundamental differences between an ANC Integrity Committee and the Public Protector's findings?
Yes, certainly. Let's go back to what the resolution of the ANC seeks to achieve. Firstly, it is actually external focus. It wants to protect the public. It wants to protect the integrity of the ANC. And in that context, the ANC has formed its own integrity commission to make a determination whether in a particular set of circumstances a person must step aside. The public protector process is a strictly legal process, which is based on a complaint which follows a particular process. Now, the contradiction comes when the Integrity Commission of the ANC has not found a basis for a step aside, and the public protector comes with a finding that suggests that there must actually be a step aside. So there's a major difference between the two.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Eastern Cape PEC statement says the timing of the Public Protector's report is questionable because it was finalised 2 months ago, but is released on basically the verge of the local government elections. And, I mean, we can see it's 18 days to go, saying this strengthens the belief that the Public Protector is party to intra-party and external factionalism. This is what's been said. I mean, what is your comment on it?
Leon, I must tell you, the issue of timing is a big issue. It almost brought this country to a standstill. If I take you back to the issue of former President Zuma in 2007, remember there was a debate which was recorded and which subsequently formed the part of a plethora of litigation to say, must he be arrested before Polokwane, after Polokwane? We know the same happened with the former Commissioner Jackie Silibe. When the president then sort of wanted an opportunity to prepare the police generals before the arrest, and it led to Advocate Piccolo even losing his job. So the issue of the timing is important, but you must also bear in mind that the public protector's integrity is questioned. There is a process to remove her. She has been to court. There's been so many judgments which found her conduct not to be necessarily good. That plays into the hands of those who may even want to evade responsibility. So there is a concern, and I think it's a genuine concern, that we must be careful about why certain things are being done. I think the fundamental principle is the challenge we still face with the efficiency of our organs of state. Let me give you an example of another case in the Eastern Cape of Mr. Terrison Tutu. Remember, he was charged, he appeared in court, he fully cooperated. His case was struck off the roll. And it is now been reinstated. He may as well feel that, look, why so quick? You took all this time to investigate. You brought me to court. You were not ready. The matter was struck off. And suddenly, you are so quick to put it back onto the roll. I'm not saying the National Prosecuting Authority is wrong, but I don't think it is unjustified to have a perception that there's something untoward here.
So the PEC says the ANC and society should give both Mabuyane and Madikizela space as they seek legal review. But in short, basically, they're not going to be stepping down. So from an ethical perspective, if not a governance perspective, should or shouldn't a person implicated step aside as an ethical consideration?
Well, the actual impact or import of the resolution is that, but it also requires a process. I think my expectation is that they must immediately return to the Integrity Commission. Remember, when the Integrity Commission made the findings in 2019, it didn't have the Public Protector report. And I think it's important that they return immediately to the Integrity Commission, let the Integrity Commission consider its decision having regard to the report of the Public Protector. I don't think the reason that you are going to challenge the report in court is sufficient necessarily, but I think it needs to be determined whether the report introduces new material which may have not been known at the time that the Integrity Commission took a decision, and whether it has got a bearing on whether a person should step aside or not.
So let's look a little deeper. I mean, of the ANC implicated people, there are so many different categories. There are people who have not been charged but implicated in corruption, such as the Deputy Minister of State Security Agencies, Zizi Kodwa, who has been mentioned at the Zondo Commission by companies to have personally benefited from kickbacks. I mean, there's also people not charged being investigated by law enforcement, such as the SIU. Then there are those charged by the courts like David Mabuza, as well as Bongani Bongo and government. What should be the standard to be applied by the ANC? And, of course, the President, Ramaphosa?
You know, Leanne, I think there's an organ of state that we always ignore, the Auditor General. You know, I think there's only one case that went to court that involves the work of the Auditor General, and that related to the arms deal access to records. That office carried itself with such decorum. It's so efficient. Nobody has even dared to challenge it. The bigger problem that we have now is that the other agencies of state are unable to give us the type of efficiency where, if there are serious allegations against people, they are, investigated, and we have a determination of what the position is. If you look at the issue of the Eastern Cape, for example, there are other people, members of the ANC, who are appearing in court on the same matter of the funds related to the Winnie Mandela Memorial Service. And the question is, why is this done in this type of installments? Why are these things not moving? But we must also remember that these organs were collapsed at some point, and we will pay the price until we get the efficiency of these organs of state. The one question that we must ask, Leanne, is that if there are so many allegations made against so many people, what is supposed to happen? Because theoretically, all of them must step down.
Ace Magashule, let's talk about him. His view is that all these categories should step aside. Does he have a point? If you actually consider the varying application of the step-aside rule. For example, David Mabuza is currently in court, charged for corruption, but he is still an ANC member and the deputy president of this country.
Yes, Leanne, I think one of the critical issues that needs to be resolved is the issue of consistency and certainty. I think we need to be certain who must step aside under what circumstances. I think the attempt that the ANC has made to try and define the circumstances may have not been adequate. But I must also say it's because the problem is so broad. I mean, you are right. The deputy president is facing serious allegations. He is remaining as deputy president of the ANC and deputy president of the country. A mayor somewhere in a small municipality who has been asked to step down must ask the question, but how different am I as an ANC member to the deputy president or to Mr. Magashule? So there's an issue of consistency and certainty that must be resolved. But we must also be very careful, because all these problems also happen within the context of the factional battles within the ANC. So some are raising these issues genuinely, and I want to use the example of Mr. Kalnehouse. Mr. Kalnehouse was charged for COVID-19 contraventions. He's probably the best example of one person that has ever been taken so seriously with regard to COVID contraventions when there is a massive contravention. I mean, there are some ministers who have actually contravened the COVID regulations. Will you blame him if he says I'm being singled out. So the issue of certainty and consistency remains very important.
Yeah, we saw it. We had it here live on camera at the SABC, him being arrested outside the court. So, I mean, that was something that is definitely something to look at. I mean, some political analysts go as far as to say that President Ramaphosa increasingly appears to be using the ANC step-aside rule to target and purge his political opponents while affirming his untouchable supporters before next year's ANC National Conference. What do you think?
Look, just recently I saw that the head of the presidency at Luthuli House, not in government, was asked to step down. I was actually surprised at how swift that was, and you would assume that that person belongs to the faction of the president. You will believe that he's very close to the president. But I think what we have seen, I didn't understand Dr. Zweli Mkhize to be on the other side of the factions of the president, but he has said to step aside. But I think it is going to be dangerous as well if we relegate this whole problem to one person and the president, because the president himself faces allegations, and we may as well say to him, because you are accused of using the step aside to target your opponents, you are also unethical and you must step aside. So I think we need to also ask the question of what we play, what role society also plays, what the various functionaries within the organs of the state play, what the various people who hold positions in the ANC play. I saw yesterday that the premier of Mpumalanga acted very swiftly, removed an MEC who has not been found guilty, but he's facing serious allegations in court. Again, it goes back to the issue of whether there's consistency and certainty around this issue. But the context is important. The problem is quite broad. I think I said this about a week or so ago, that almost every week we'll hear about a senior member implicated. And where this is going to end, I cannot tell.
Yeah, well, love that conversation. Thank you. Thanks for talking to us here on the program, just giving us some legal analysis and some really great views on this. Advocate Modidima Mannya talking about the ANC's application of its step-aside resolution. All right, that's where we got to leave it for today. But a quick preview of